In the near future, the US government releases a chemical attack on the whole country as a way to reset society. This kills millions of people in just a couple of minutes. Afterward, the government does nothing to keep society in order, so survivors have two options. They can join one of the gangs that control the territory and are constantly fighting, or be a domestic, which means they just want to live in peace. A few months after the attack, domestic couple Mark and Nina are loading their car because they'll travel to Milwaukee to find Nina's parents. Mark's friend warns him of the dangers on the road, but Mark insists he must go to support Nina because he still loves her even though they were considering getting a divorce before the attack. During the trip, they listen to a radio host who reminds domestics to stay away from the freeways, keep an eye out for snipers, and shoot anyone dressed like a ghost because they're part of the Sheets gang. Sometime later, the car starts to malfunction, so they stop at an abandoned garage. While Mark is working on the vehicle, three men enter the shop. They don't see the couple in the other room, so Mark very carefully moves to get back in his car. Suddenly, a truck bursts into the shop and the drivers of the Sheets gang open fire to kill the three men. It takes Mark a few tries to start the car and the noise gets the Sheets' attention, but luckily the vehicle finally gets going and the couple drives away right before the Sheets can hurt them. On the radio, they learn that the Sheets are in a turf war with the Nailers. Late in the afternoon, they decide to stop at an abandoned house to spend the night. Nina searches for supplies while Mark checks every room just in case, eventually finding a dead couple in the bedroom. The bloodstains show they were attacked and mutilated before their death, so Mark covers the bodies as a last merciful gesture. Then Nina tries to contact her mom using an old radio, but nobody answers. That night, Mark updates his map before going to sleep with Nina, unaware that a man outside is watching them. The next morning, the man and his friend are beaten up by a group of Nailers, who threaten to kill them with a chainsaw if they don't tell them where to find a woman. The terrified man informs them where to find Nina, but he and his friend get shot to death anyway. Moments later, the couple hears the Nailers approaching the house on their bikes, so Nina runs to hide in the attic and puts on headphones to avoid hearing what's about to happen. When the Nailers enter the house and start searching the rooms, Mark sneaks around with a screwdriver and quickly kills an intruder by stabbing his head from behind. Then he tackles Nailer Dean to the ground and fights him until he manages to stab him in the stomach and an eye to kill him too. Afterward, the couple leaves in the car, not noticing someone is watching them. During the trip, they hear on the radio that a person from the Cherry Gang is out on the streets saving women and killing anyone who gets in her way. When the couple finds a supermarket, they stop to get supplies only to be found by an armed man. Their fear doesn't last much though, because Nathan takes off his mask and shakes Mark's hand, explaining he was the one watching them to be sure they're friendly. The conversation is interrupted when they hear a car approaching, so the trio runs to hide behind the shelves while the Nailers enter the store to look for Nina. The men barely take a few steps before they're all shot down to death by Nathan's son Stephen, who has been hiding behind a counter all along. Afterward, Nathan convinces the couple to join his family for dinner and they leave in his tow truck, which is dragging Mark's car. When they're about to exit the parking lot, they're blocked by a gang known as the Plowboys. The leader, Jim, says they're just patrolling the neighborhood because they heard the Gamblers gang is around. There's a woman called Betsy trapped in the Gamblers truck and Jim reveals she's the Cherry mentioned on the radio, yet he's already taking an interest in Nina. Stephen gets his gun ready to shoot if necessary, but Nathan has a good relationship with Jim and convinces him to open the road so his group can leave. They don't notice they're being watched by Dean, who is alive after all. Later, Nina and Mark have dinner with Nathan, his wife, and his two kids. The tension between Nina and Mark while they talk about their life is pretty clear, but Nathan and his wife are affectionate and even dance together. After dinner, Nathan tells Mark the hamburgers they've eaten were made with human flesh. Feeling sick, Mark asks Nathan not to tell Nina the truth and announces they're leaving. However, Nathan forces him to stay with a deadly threat. Suddenly, Dean enters the house using Nathan's daughter as a shield. He asks for Nina and Mark, and Nathan agrees to exchange them for his daughter without hesitation. As Dean pushes the girl forward, Stephen sneaks around to cut Dean's ankles, causing him to fall and fire his gun. Nathan's wife is shot down as Mark drags Nina away. Then Stephen jumps on Dean and starts stabbing him over and over while Dean reaches for his gun. Outside, the couple hears a few shots before taking Nathan's car to escape. Once they're back on the road, Nina says she doesn't want to travel with Mark anymore and the couple gets into an argument about the situation. The Gamblers see them coming and spin a wheel, which lands on a skull. This means the sniper must open fire. The bullet hits Nina in the shoulder, so Mark immediately turns the car around to return to town. Meanwhile, Nathan calls Jim to tell him he can have the couple. Jim gets excited and goes looking for his men, only to find them all dead. Suddenly, Betsy hits him from behind with a pipe to knock him out. Then she frees all the women the gang captured. After taking some guns from a table, Betsy leaves in a police car. Moments later, she gets annoyed by the noises coming from Jim in the trunk, so she stops the car and shoots him in the leg. At that moment, she notices something moving in the forest and goes after it, forgetting her keys in the trunk lock. The next morning, Nina wakes up inside a cabin with a bandage on her shoulder. Mark isn't around, but he left a note saying he went looking for food. When Nina tries to leave the building, she finds another note saying the front door is booby-trapped, so she goes out the window instead. She looks around and finds a car in the garage, So she rushes back inside to pack her bag intending to leave alone. At that moment she finds a note telling her to listen to music, and one more note indicating which record has her favorite song. On the final note, Mark apologizes and begs her not to give up on their marriage. Feeling guilty, Nina doesn't leave and instead stays in the cabin to dance to her favorite music while drinking a lot. Betsy watches her dance until Nina takes a break, then Betsy returns to the car and finally kills Jim. In the meantime, Mark enters an abandoned house and finds 2 prisoners with bags on their heads. When he removes them, he's shocked to see Nathan and Stephen. Suddenly a madman called William appears behind him with a gun and makes Mark drop his weapon. William explains he loves ultraviolence and brings out his slave Bill the Big. Bill and Mark must fight to the death, and if Mark refuses to participate, William will shoot Nathan and Stephen. Mark gets ready and kicks Bill in the groin, but his fist gets blocked and Bill punches him with such strength that Mark falls. Then Bill throws Mark around, kicks him in the stomach, and raises him by the neck to choke him. While William enjoys the show, Mark headbutts Bill to make him drop him, but Bill quickly grabs him again and throws him against the furniture. Next, Bill tries breaking Mark's neck and Mark bites his arm, so Bill throws him at William. Now Mark can fight William for the gun, and in the struggle the gun is accidentally fired, which kills William. Afterward, Mark frees Nathan, Stephen, and even Bill, and they all go separate ways. When Mark arrives at the cabin, he finds Nina sleeping on the couch and takes her to bed. Later, Nina wakes up and notices Mark practicing his shooting. She asks him to teach her how to shoot a gun, and while they're busy, Betsy sneaks into the cabin and finds Nina's wedding ring. After shooting practice, Nina takes Mark to the garage to show him the car she found, and Mark gets nostalgic because he used to have the same model. Remembering the good old days, the couple gets naughty in the backseat. At that moment, the gamblers show up because this is their car. They immediately capture the couple and spin a wheel to decide what to do with them. Since it lands on a spade, Nina and Marl get thrown in cages and taken to the gamblers' headquarters in a motel. The place is a complete mess and people are drinking or fighting in every corner. The receptionist takes their names and realizes they're married, so he sends them to the Snake Eyes suite. There, a host starts taking bets while the couple gets a hand tied to the chairs and the other hand painfully drilled into a pair of guns on a table. One bullet is loaded into each gun to play Russian roulette, and the host warns them that if they don't shoot the gun when he tells them to, 2 more bullets will be added. If they survive 6 rounds, they'll be allowed to leave. Mark tells Nina to shoot without hesitation, but Nina negotiates with the host. She wants 3 more bullets in Mark's gun, and in exchange they only have to surround 2 rounds. The host agrees, and after the bullets are loaded, the game begins. The gamblers count down and both guns are fired, but nobody gets hurt. Unfortunately, on the second round, Nina's gun shoots the only bullet and it lands in Mark's shoulder. Wanda starts fighting another gambler over the bet money, and the host gets distracted by trying to calm them down. Nina keeps on pulling at her bindings until he frees her hand and steals the host's gun from his boot. She shoots the man twice before firing at the table to release their hands. As she helps Mark walk, Nina uses the gun as a threat to keep everyone at bay and shoots the host again when he tries asking for help, finally killing him. Wanda wants revenge, but nobody is armed in that room, so she tells the others to let the couple go for now. As soon as Mark and Nina are out, Wanda and the others run to get their guns. The duo tries to find a working car and is seen by snipers on the roof, but before they can open fire, they're shot down by Betsy first. The couple drives away in a car as Wanda and the other gamblers come out with open fire, but they don't land any shots. A frustrated Wanda punches a fellow gambler before announcing they're going after Nina. A few hours later, Mark wakes up in Nina's childhood home in Milwaukee. The neighbors tell Nina that her father died of an illness and her mother self-deleted to be with him, which they know thanks to a letter she left behind. After Nina reads the letter, she asks the neighbors how they managed to keep a peaceful life in the suburbs. They explain the gamblers sometimes try to invade, but they've set up a system of car barricades, take turns as snipers on the roofs, and there are explosives hidden in a mailbox connected to some barbed wire. While looking at all the traps, Nina is happy to bump into Phil, an old friend of her family. In the meantime, Betsy also arrives and hides in the house across Nina's, keeping an eye out for any enemies. Sometime later, Nina notices Phil talking on a walkie-talkie, and when she tries to get his attention, he runs back into his house. A suspicious Nina sneaks around to spy on him and discovers that Phil has been in contact with the gamblers, who will be coming soon. At the same time, she notices a little girl on the street, so she drags her into the house with her right before the gamblers arrive. Then Nina gives Mark a gun and tells him to protect the child while she goes out to fight. The gamblers leave their cars and look around until suddenly Nina opens fire, killing a few gang members. The group rushes to hide behind the car and fires back, forcing Nina to take cover. Betsy takes the chance to open fire too, killing a bunch of gamblers in quick succession, thanks to her machine gun. With the gang turning to attack her instead, Nina tries to take a moment to reload. A gambler approaches her from behind, but before he can act, Mark shoots him through the window. Wanda refuses to give up and wants to keep fighting, so the neighbor on guard duty starts shooting as well from the roof. Betsy runs out of bullets and has to hide while Nina throws a homemade smoke grenade into the middle of the street. In the house, a gang member surprises Mark from behind and starts choking him. Mark breaks the horn from the man's mask and stabs him in the eye before tackling him down to stab him in the chest, making sure he hits the heart this time. Meanwhile, Nina continues to fight and Betsy discovers she's been shot. At that moment, the Plowboys arrive looking for Betsy to avenge Jim, but they get stuck in a gunfight against the gamblers. The gangs keep shooting at each other while the Plowboys' truck easily destroys the car barricade. Nina uses the chance to activate the barbed wire, and as soon as the truck touches it, a big explosion brings it down. The neighbor guard comes down and shoots the last gambler man, only to be quickly killed by Wanda. Inside the house, Betsy approaches Mark and gives him back Nina's wedding ring. At that moment, Wanda comes in and shoots Betsy in the head. She gets ready to kill Mark too, but Nina shows up and brings her down first. Now that all the gangsters are dead, Nina goes to Phil's house to kill him too, but he's already dead. After confirming Phil has a gang tattoo, she sees her father's favorite gun on the table and takes it back. On her way out, Nina sees the child staring creepily at Phil's house, making her wonder if she did it since there were rumors of a gang formed by children. Afterward, Nina gives Mark her father's gun, and in return he puts the wedding ring back on her finger. Once they've recovered from their wounds, the couple goes back to the road to hunt down gang members and protect other domestics. The radio host warns his public not to mess with them. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.